Out of 24 hours, the human body needs around 8 hours of sleep to function properly. If one isn't getting enough sleep, it could have adverse effects on their health. If one tries to stay awake even for a couple of days, they will be able to see some of the early effects of sleep deprivation for themselves. How long do you think you could go without sleep? In 1963, an American named Randy Gardner went a whopping 265 hours or 11 days without sleep. When the then 17-year-old Gardner and his friend decided to start a project on insomnia, little did they know that the consequences would affect him decades later. Find out more about Gardner and his project in this video. In December 1963, Gardner and his friend Bruce McAllister thought of an idea for a science fair project when they were in high school. They decided to see how long they could stay awake and record the side effects of the experiment. They flipped a coin to determine who would stay awake. Gardner, who was 17 then, lost the toss and had to be the one to go without sleeping. McAllister later said, "We were idiots, young idiots, and I stayed awake with him to monitor him. After 3 nights of sleeplessness myself, I woke up tipped against the wall, writing notes on the wall itself." As McAllister would fall asleep during the time Gardner stayed awake, the teenagers realized they needed a third person involved. They roped in another friend named Joe Marciano to help out. Shortly after Marciano came on board, a sleep researcher called William Dement from Stanford University also joined in. He had read about the experiment in a San Diego newspaper and immediately wanted to get involved. Randy's parents, who were worried that the experiment might be harmful for Randy, were relieved with the news. By the time Dement joined in, Randy was upbeat and didn't seem particularly impaired. However, as the days passed, the experiments they did on him brought out some unexpected results. On the second day, he had difficulty focusing his eyes and couldn't recognize objects only by touching them. By day 3, Gardner became uncoordinated and emotional and became sensitive to strong smells. By day 4 and 5, he started to have hallucinations and had trouble forming short-term memories. Gardner played basketball and pinball with fellow students to keep himself occupied. Surprisingly, his basketball game got better, although this could be down to the amount he was playing. He said that staying awake during the day was easy, however, nights were challenging. From day 6 to 8, his speech was slurring and he had difficulty naming common objects. By the 9th and 10th days, he experienced episodes of fragmented thinking and he couldn't finish his sentences. By the 11th and the final day, his appearance was emotionless and it was difficult for him to form any coherent sentences. His attention span was very short and his mental abilities were diminished. In a test, when he was asked to start from 100 and proceed downwards by subtracting 7 each time, he got down to 65 with just 5 subtractions and stopped. When asked why he had stopped, he claimed that he couldn't remember what he was supposed to be doing. The experiment ended on January 8, 1964. He managed to stay awake for 264.4 hours. After the experiment ended, Gardner slept for 14 hours and 40 minutes. On the next day, he slept an additional 10.5 hours, after which he appeared to have fully recovered from his loss of sleep. Gardner and his friends eventually won the first place in that science fair, and the achievement was recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records. But as the years passed, Gardner began to regret the experiment more and more. He started to experience insomnia on a nightly basis. He suffered from a recurring inability to sleep for several years until finally settling down into a more reliable routine. According to news reports, Gardner's record has been broken a number of times. Gardner's case still stands out, however, because it has been so extensively documented. It is difficult to determine the accuracy of a sleep deprivation period unless the participant is carefully observed to detect short microsleeps, which the participant might not even notice. A microsleep is a short period of time, usually between 10 seconds to a minute in length, in which the brain actually enters the sleep state, regardless of what the person is doing at the time. The affected individual often does not know that this momentary blackout has occurred. The process of these microsleeps combined with attentional lapses, however, can be dramatic. After noticing the effects on the body as documented in Randy Gardner's case, records for voluntary sleep deprivation are no longer kept by Guinness World Records for fear that the participants will suffer ill effects. Thank you for watching. If you found the video interesting, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to Seanvolution for more such content.